Ron Howard is one of the most respected figures in Hollywood today. Many people know him as a brilliant director who created powerful films like Apollo 13 and A Beautiful Mind. Others remember him as the friendly young boy from the classic television show The Andy Griffith Show, or as Richie Cunningham from Happy Days. But behind this long and successful career is a life that was not always easy. Ron Howard's story is not only about fame and awards. It is also about pressure, doubts, and the struggle to prove himself again and again. Growing up in the spotlight may sound exciting, but for Ron it meant living a life very different from other children. From a very young age, cameras followed him everywhere, and the world expected him to perform. While millions of viewers loved him on television, he was still just a child trying to understand who he was. Over the years, Ron Howard faced many challenges that shaped the man he became. His journey shows that success in Hollywood is rarely simple. It often comes with sacrifices, hard work, and moments of deep uncertainty. Ron Howard was born in 1954 in Duncan, Oklahoma. His parents were both actors, which meant that the entertainment industry was already a big part of his life from the very beginning. When Ron was still a small child, his family moved to California so they could find better opportunities in Hollywood. Unlike most children who spend their days playing outside or going to school with friends, Ron spent much of his childhood on film sets. By the time he was just 6 years old, he was already playing the role of Opie Taylor on The Andy Griffith Show. The show quickly became one of the most loved programs on television, and young Ron became famous across the United States. Viewers saw him as the perfect son, kind, polite, and innocent. However, life behind the scenes was very different. Ron's school lessons often took place in small trailers near the filming location. His classmates were rarely other children his age. Instead, he spent most of his time around adult actors and crew members. While he appreciated the opportunity to act, it also meant that he missed many normal childhood experiences. Fame came early, but it also created a feeling of isolation that followed him for years. As Ron Howard grew older, he began to realize that fame could be both a blessing and a burden. Many people loved the character of Opie Taylor, but they also had trouble seeing Ron as anything else. When The Andy Griffith Show ended, he faced the challenge that many child actors experience. The public still saw him as the same young boy, even though he was growing into a young man with new dreams and ambitions. Later, Ron found another major role as Richie Cunningham on Happy Days. The show became extremely popular during the 1970s and once again made him a household name. For a while, it seemed like his acting career would continue without problems. But something unexpected happened when another character, played by Henry Winkler, became the true star of the series. Winkler's character, the cool and confident Fonzie, quickly captured the attention of viewers everywhere. Suddenly, much of the public focus moved away from Ron and toward his co-star. Although Ron continued to work on the show, this change made him feel uncertain about his place in Hollywood. It was a difficult moment for a young actor who had already spent most of his life in the spotlight. Despite these challenges, Ron Howard refused to give up on his dreams. Instead of trying to compete for attention as an actor, he began to think about another path in the film industry. Ron had always been curious about how movies were made. While working on television shows, he often watched directors closely and asked questions about their work. Over time, he realized that directing might allow him to express his creativity in a much deeper way. Making this change was not easy. Many people in Hollywood still saw him as the child actor from The Andy Griffith Show or the friendly Richie from Happy Days. They were not sure if he could handle the responsibility of directing major films. But Ron believed in himself and slowly began to prove his talent. One of his early directing successes was the movie Splash, a romantic fantasy that surprised many critics and audiences. The film became a box office hit and showed that Ron Howard was capable of much more than acting. This success gave him the confidence to continue building his career behind the camera. During the following years, Ron Howard directed several films that became important moments in Hollywood history. Movies like Apollo 13 showed his ability to tell powerful and emotional stories. The film recreated the tense space mission that almost ended in disaster, and it received praise from both critics and audiences. Later, He directed A Beautiful Mind, a film about mathematician John Nash and his struggle with mental illness. The movie touched millions of viewers around the world and even won the Academy Award for Best Picture. For Ron, these achievements were the result of many years of patience and determination. Yet success in Hollywood is never permanent. Even experienced directors sometimes face projects that do not perform well. One example was EDTV, a film that did not succeed at the box office the way many people expected. Moments like this reminded Ron that the entertainment industry can change quickly and that every project carries risks. Another difficult chapter came many years later with the film Solo, a Star Wars story. The project was part of the famous Star Wars film franchise, one of the biggest movie franchises in history. Because of its connection to such a legendary series, expectations for the film were extremely high. Ron Howard joined the project after production problems had already started, which meant he had to complete the film under great pressure. When the movie was finally released, its box office results were disappointing compared to other films in the franchise. Critics and fans had mixed opinions, and the project became one of the rare setbacks in Ron Howard's directing career. For someone who had spent decades building a strong reputation, the situation was difficult. Yet Ron once again showed the resilience that had defined his life. Instead of focusing only on the criticism, he continued working on new stories and projects. One of the most meaningful parts of Ron Howard's life has been his friendship with Henry Winkler. During their time on Happy Days, many people believed there was competition or tension between the two actors because Winkler's character became more popular. In reality, the two men built a strong friendship that lasted for decades. Winkler even became the godfather to Ron's children, showing how close their families became over the years. Their relationship is a reminder that the stories created by media or fans are not always true. Instead of allowing fame to create conflict, both actors supported each other through different stages of their careers. Moments like these reveal the human side of Hollywood, where friendships can be more important than public attention or fame. At the age of 71, Ron Howard's life story stands as an example of perseverance and growth. From a small child actor on The Andy Griffith Show to a respected director responsible for films like Apollo 13 and A Beautiful Mind, his journey has been long and complex. Along the way, he experienced moments of doubt, criticism, and failure, but he never allowed those moments to define him. Instead, he continued learning and adapting, finding new ways to express his creativity. His story shows that true success is not only about awards or financial results. It is about the ability to keep moving forward even when circumstances become difficult. Ron Howard's career reminds us that behind every famous name is a human being who faces challenges just like anyone else. In the end, Ron Howard's legacy is not only built on the films he created or the television shows that made him famous. It is also built on the strength he showed when facing the many ups and downs of life in the entertainment industry. Fame may bring opportunities, but it can also bring pressure and expectations that are hard to escape. Through decades of change in Hollywood, Ron Howard remained dedicated to storytelling and to the people who supported him along the way. His journey proves that resilience, patience, and passion can help a person overcome even the most difficult moments. For audiences around the world, his work continues to inspire and entertain, reminding us that every great story, both on screen and in real life, is shaped by struggle as well as triumph. Ron Howard's personal life has also played an important role in shaping who he is today. In an industry where relationships often struggle under the pressure of fame, Ron's marriage to Cheryl Howard has remained one of the strongest and longest-lasting partnerships in Hollywood. The two met when they were very young and married in 1975, long before Ron became one of the most successful directors in the film industry. Over the years, Cheryl stood beside him through every stage of his journey, from his days as a young television actor to his transformation into an award-winning filmmaker. Together, they built a family and raised 4 children, including actress and director Bryce Dallas Howard, who later followed in her father's footsteps in the world of film. Ron has often said that his family helped keep him grounded while living in the unpredictable world of Hollywood. While fame brought attention and expectations, his home life gave him stability and a sense of normalcy. Still, Balancing family life with a demanding career was never easy. Directing movies often required long hours, months of travel, and intense creative pressure. Yet through these challenges, Ron and Cheryl remained committed to each other and to their family, showing that strong relationships can survive even in the fast-moving world of entertainment. Another important part of Ron Howard's story is the company he helped create, Imagine Entertainment. In the mid-1980s, Ron partnered with producer Brian Grazer to build a production company that would allow them to develop films and television projects with creative freedom. At the time, starting such a company was a major risk. Hollywood is known for being competitive, and many production companies struggle to survive. However, Ron and Grazer believed they could create stories that audiences would connect with. Over the years, Imagine Entertainment produced many successful films and television shows, becoming one of the most respected companies in the industry. For Ron, this partnership was more than just a business move. It was another way to expand his influence as a storyteller and to help bring meaningful projects to life. Still, managing such a large company also brought new responsibilities and pressures. Every project required careful decisions, financial planning, and the ability to work with many different creative voices. Even for someone as experienced as Ron Howard, these challenges could be stressful. But once again, his determination helped him navigate the difficult moments and continue building his legacy. As the decades passed, Ron Howard witnessed many changes in the film industry. Technology transformed the way movies were made and distributed, and new generations of filmmakers entered Hollywood with fresh ideas. Instead of resisting these changes, Ron chose to adapt and learn. He explored new storytelling methods and even began working on documentaries that allowed him to examine real-life stories in greater depth. One example is the documentary The Beatles, 8 Days a Week, which explored the early touring years of the legendary band The Beatles. The project showed a different side of Ron's talent, proving that his ability to tell compelling stories extended beyond fictional films. By embracing new creative opportunities, he demonstrated that a filmmaker's career does not have to slow down with age. Instead, experience can open the door to new perspectives and ideas. Looking back at Ron Howard's journey, it becomes clear that his life has been shaped by both success and struggle. From his early days as a child actor on The Andy Griffith Show to his rise as a major director with films like Apollo 13 and A Beautiful Mind, he experienced the many sides of fame. There were moments when he felt overshadowed, times when his projects failed, and situations where critics questioned his choices. Yet these difficulties did not stop him from moving forward. Instead, they helped him grow stronger and more determined. His story reminds us that even the most successful people face doubts and obstacles along the way. What matters most is how they respond to those challenges. Today, Ron Howard is widely respected not only for his achievements, but also for the humility and kindness he has shown throughout his career. Many actors and filmmakers who worked with him describe him as supportive, thoughtful, and passionate about storytelling. His journey from a young television star to a respected director has inspired countless people who dream of working in the entertainment industry. More importantly, his life shows that true success is not defined only by awards or box office numbers. It is defined by perseverance, creativity, and the courage to keep learning and evolving. Even after decades in Hollywood, Ron Howard continues to prove that dedication and passion can lead to a lasting legacy, one built not only on talent but also on resilience and heart. As Ron Howard entered his later years, many people began to look back at the incredible journey he had taken through Hollywood. Few individuals in the entertainment industry have experienced such a complete transformation. Ron began his career as a small child performing on television, and over time, he became one of the most respected directors in the world. Yet the road that led him there was never perfectly smooth. Throughout the decades, Ron often spoke about the pressure that comes with growing up in front of millions of viewers. When he appeared on The Andy Griffith Show as Opie Taylor, audiences saw a cheerful boy who seemed to live a perfect life in a peaceful small town. But behind the scenes, the reality was more complicated. Ron had responsibilities at an age when most children were still discovering simple joys like playing outside with friends or attending school events. Instead of normal childhood experiences, His days were filled with rehearsals, scripts, and filming schedules. Although his parents tried to protect him and make his life as normal as possible, it was impossible to escape the fact that he was part of a demanding industry. Those early years taught him discipline and professionalism, but they also showed him how quickly fame could shape a person's identity. The experience of working on Happy Days during the 1970s added another important chapter to Ron Howard's life story. At the time, the show became one of the most popular programs on television, and Ron's character Richie Cunningham was meant to represent the everyday American teenager. However, the sudden rise of Henry Winkler as the unforgettable character Fonzie created a new dynamic within the show. Fonzie's cool personality and confident attitude made him a cultural icon almost overnight. Fans began to focus more on Winkler's character, and the media often described him as the breakout star of the series. For Ron, this shift was not easy to process. As the original lead actor, he sometimes felt as though the spotlight had moved away from him. Still, instead of letting this situation damage his confidence or his friendship with Winkler, Ron used the moment as an opportunity to think about his future. He realized that his passion for storytelling might be stronger behind the camera than in front of it. That decision would eventually change the entire direction of his career. The transition from acting to directing was one of the boldest choices Ron Howard ever made. Many people in Hollywood doubted whether a former television actor could successfully guide major film productions. But Ron believed that the years he spent observing directors on television sets had prepared him for the challenge. His early directing projects were modest, yet they allowed him to gain valuable experience. Gradually, he began to earn the respect of producers, actors, and critics. Films like Splash helped prove that he had a strong sense of storytelling and an ability to connect with audiences. Later projects such as Apollo 13 showed that he could handle large-scale productions with complex emotional themes. The film recreated the dramatic real-life mission of astronauts who faced danger while returning to Earth, and Ron's careful direction turned the story into an unforgettable cinematic experience. Success like this helped him escape the shadow of his early acting career and establish himself as a filmmaker with his own creative voice. Despite these achievements, Ron Howard never forgot the lessons he learned during his younger years. Hollywood is a place where reputations can change quickly, and even the most talented artists sometimes face criticism or disappointment. When certain projects did not perform as expected, Ron remained calm and focused on improving his work. Instead of seeing failure as the end of a journey, he viewed it as part of the creative process. This mindset helped him continue directing meaningful stories and exploring different styles of filmmaking. Over time, he also became known for supporting younger actors